you think when it comes to rookies that they're more important than they used to be, less important, or it's just the same as it's always ever been? I have a reason I'm asking it this way.
I can't say that they would be any more or less important because having a good rookie on your team has always been good. I guess you could argue it's only more important now because teams are more willing to play rookies.
You kind of taken what I was thinking is like, a rookie player gets paid less. So there's a motivation for the team if the guy's good enough to play to have a lower salary guy in the lineup every day.
Right, but I think it's less that the rookies play less and more so now that or rookies play more nowadays and more so the rookies are just younger. They're more willing to give the rookies are 19, 20 instead of they're waiting for 4 years in the AAA and then coming up at 23, 24.
Right, and some rookies still go the same way they always have and have this get the seasoning in the minor leagues that that they always have said that they've needed. But you're right, there are guys like Julio Rodriguez that come up and he is unusual, I guess, through the group we're going to talk about because he came out hot and has been very good ever since. So it wasn't like he kind of fizzled out or went.
He had a great rookie
down.
campaign and then followed up on that, which is we're gonna have to see that for some of the guys that had unbelievable years last year's as rookie. Will Gunnar Henderson show that promise? Will
Corbin Carroll?
Right.
And
obviously based off of their rookie there this year, pretty obvious they are gonna.
And so, we talked about Rookie of the Year as a career predictor in our episode 204. And I remember we talked about Bobby Crosby.
We talked about there's going to be a
that.
few of the guys that we talked about in this in this episode because there's been quite a handful of Rookie of the Years that had a good Rookie of the Year. I think some of these guys.
Well, these are Rookie of the Year.
Right. But Bobby Crosby's Rookie of the Year campaign is not exactly the world's most impressive career predictor.
There's a few of the other ones, and we'll get to when we go through this list. And you look at the Rookie of the Year thinking, I guess this wasn't anybody else.
Right, exactly. Some of these guys more won just because there wasn't anybody else to give the award to, not because of their unbelievable performance. So some of these guys also had unbelievably good rookie years, and then they just never put it together again.
At least not in that way. So what didn't happen is it wasn't like the 1 year flame out and you never heard from the guy again and again.
The only guy that kind of comes close to that weirdly is Fidrich.
Yeah, I think he pitched like 11 starts the second season, and that was it. Right. So that's a great point. And why don't we do him first? So
we've talked about him a lot.
His rookie season in 1976, and then after his 11 games in 1977, arm troubles, and never reached that. So he's, like you said, probably the poster child for a guy who really only did it for one full season.
Right. Because then you have guys like a Bobby Crosby who did win Rookie of the Year though. As we've said, with not the most impressive campaign. And then he hung around and played some seasons.
Right. I guess I thought he had 8 Major League seasons. I don't think I would have even guessed that he had that many.
Right. He managed to be around, but it wasn't like he started playing so much less as those seasons went on. After his 2008 campaign with the Athletics, he just kind of started playing, off of the bench. And it's tough to do much when you're doing that.
I think if you look at Crosby's rookie season when he won the Rookie of the Year in 2004, he batted a snappy .239.
Well, he was a shortstop that hit 22 homers as a rookie.
Right, but he batted .239.
Right,
but win Rookie of the Year
because nobody else is doing anything.
Exactly, and then
he did have 230. I mean, he had a bunch of total bases, but he only had a 93 OPS. So it's just like, what do you do with that?
And only in one other season did he play more than 100 games for Oakland. He did that in 2008 when he hit 237, which is pretty close to his rookie year. But he wasn't eligible any longer. So
exactly,
he was just another guy.
He was just another guy.
But it was mainly injuries for that guy who really cost him any opportunity he had in his career. But
then you still had guys like Giovanni Soto, who for the Cubs, who came out as a catcher, had that unbelievable rookie year where he
was going to be a 10-year catcher for the Cubs,
right? 23 homers, bats .280, gets an All-Star nod. He's voted on for the MVP, and then just injuries and never able to put it together after that, and just couldn't hit. He hit .285 that rookie season, and then basically never. He hit .280 2 years later in 2010, but outside of that, he was like a .220 hitter most of his career.
And you could argue that the Cubs have had a catching problem ever since. Right? They
always seem to have like a decent guy back there, but he just never seems to hang on. And one of the things I was thinking with a lot of these rookies is that I wonder how much of these rookie batters that get off to really hot starts and then struggle is just because in that rookie year, we all kind of know how major league pitchers are.
They haven't been figured out yet?
Well, no, not so much that they haven't been figured out, but like major league pitchers are cocky, right? They're going to be like, who is this kid? He doesn't have anything. He can hit a fastball. He can't hit my fastball. And he's probably going to see a higher percentage of overall hittable pitches because pitchers are going to be more willing to directly challenge him than after that rookie year where he wins rookie of the year. They're like, okay, there's a book on this guy. Oh, let's see if he can handle the other stuff.
I think what I said is true. He gets found out. And, once they find you out, they're going to keep giving you that.
Right. And I also think that what you're seeing now is, I thought it would be more common with older guys too, because you didn't even have scouting reports on these rookies coming up a lot of the time. It might take until after that first season for a book to be even developed on this guy because nobody might have heard of him before that. And now you have guys rocketing up through the minor leagues. If he doesn't play much minor league ball, the other teams are like, well, we had one guy scout him like 4 years ago in high school. He hit everything. You don't really have a lot to go off of.
We didn't have much competition for him. And, just DeSoto for a second. So his rookie year was 2008. I don't think we mentioned that. And so, it's 2024. So it's conceivable that had he had a 16-year carear, he could still be an active, although at catcher, that's probably very unlikely.
Not. Like, he'd be like a DH at this point.
It just seems like it was longer ago than that.
It feels like it was, at least.
Chris Coughlin, I guess is the way you say it. Coughlin.
Yeah.
Chris won the Rookie of the Year the next year after Soto in the National League in 2009 for the Marlins. And he got MVP votes, and he batted .321. Okay, I like that. Had a 122 ops plus, played 128 games. And then that was the most games he ever played for, the Marlins for the rest of his career. And he never hit. I think he had one decent year. He had 283 for the Cubs in 2014. But other than that, there was nothing remarkable about the rest of his career. He played 9 years.
Well, but when you look at that year he had for the Marlins when he ran Rookie of the Year, he hit .320. But he only hit 31 doubles, 6 triples, and 9 homers. So he was just pretty much a slap singles hitter. And it's really hard to survive in the league as a slap singles hitter. Because if you ever have a year with like rough BABIP, you're in trouble.
You're in trouble. And in what I guess we could have done, and I just didn't go this deep, is like, so who won? Who was the second place guy that year for Rookie of the Year that actually might have had a better all career and all that than he did? But another guy, and I just read a book. I was reading a book that talked about the manager of the Twins, Tom Kelly, when he was managing the World Championship teams, and how difficult a guy he was to play for, particularly when it came to Marty Cordova, who won the Rookie of the Year for the Twins in 1995, and he just could not get along with Tom Kelly, who was a very old school manager, and Marty Cordova was not that kind of guy. And so he played a lot, another 4 years for Minnesota after that rookie year in '95, where he hit 277. He had 24 homers.
Right,
another one of those.
He had another really good year in 2001 for Cleveland, where he hit 301 and hit 20 homers. Like, so it was not that he was a bad player, and then something happened after 2002. I think he got hurt towards the end of his career, and he just wasn't able to continue playing because he goes from having an okay season for Baltimore in 2002 to playing 9 games in 2003 and then never playing again. And he was a guy that was playing 100-plus games every year up till that point. So that screams injury trouble to me.
And just like Coughlin, he had 9 years in MLB. And I'd probably make too big a deal about pensions now because it's not as big a deal to the players as it used to be because they make so much money in their playing career. And the pension, I don't know what it is, $100,000 a year, which, nothing to sneeze at. But for a guy who's made, $4 million or $5 million.
It's not as big a deal.
It's not as big a deal, so I have to kind of get off that. And Cordova played 9 years in the majors as well. So, again, all these guys had careers,
Right, and that's what we were saying beforehand. I remember when Jason Jennings won that Rookie of the Year for Colorado, and obviously part of the problem is you can't really believe in a Colorado pitcher as sustaining that over any kind of period of time. But he had a really good rookie campaign, and then he just had the misfortune of pitching in Colorado, and it kind of like when you look at that 1 year he had
16-8, right? Was he
16-8? He started 32 games. He threw 185 innings, but there was concerning things in there. He had a 1.4 WHIP.
Yeah.
So to me, that tells me as a guy that
I think you got a 1.4 WHIP when you step on the mound in Colorado. By the way, because it's really hard to do any better.
He was giving up 1.3 homers per 9. He was giving up 3 walks per 9. So those are all things that in a positive sense, are thinking, well, if they go down, he can really mature and become an ace, or they cannot go down, and it kind of just he had a lot of good luck that rookie year.
So another guy, and you didn't see him play because it was before your time, and I remember his rookie year in 1983, and he hit 35 home runs. So a rookie at that time
Right,
hitting
that would
35
make
home runs was like ridiculous.
Right, that would make a big deal. People would really care.
100 RBIs. He led the major leagues, or at least the American League, in strikeouts. So that was part of his vibe. Like, he's a big swing, and this guy, but he hit 35 homers, so he hit it plenty that year. And he batted 254, so it was all about the power stats, really, because his on base was 314. So it wasn't like he was walking a whole lot against that. But when the guy hits 35 as a rookie, he's going to get consideration. He never hit 35 again, although he did hit 32 the next year, 26 after that. He played 10 years in the big leagues. So he's got 176 career home runs.
Right, he carved out a career, and you pretty much saw a guy that, in order to hit the home runs he needed to hit to make himself a threat as a player, his average was going to tank. So, and if he tried to hit
on base.
Right, and in order to make sure that he was able to get on base, he couldn't hit the home runs, and he didn't have much of a value as you don't got a lot of value in the major leagues as a slow-footed guy that hits 260.
But boy, did the White Sox think they had something they thought he was going to, be. And
Ron Kittle.
The White Sox, Ron Kittle thought he was really good. In '83, they went all the way into the playoff, deep into the playoffs, and lost to the Orioles, I think, in the American League Championship Series. So that was the year Lamar Hoyt won the Cy Young for those same White Sox.
Interesting.
And I could talk about Walt Dropo, who played back in the 50s for the Red Sox, but the same thing when I looked at his career. He actually had a pretty nice career, but came out so high because he batted well over 300.
And I think that's kind of what we're seeing with all of these players, that they all came out, had a good rookie year, and then just they weren't able to iron out the flaws in their game. They got a little exposed, and they were never able to put together the career that a rookie of the year tends to portend.
Yeah, yes, and so Bob Hamlin, I think, is one of those poster child for that, because his rookie year was the only year that he had a great year.
He flamed out really quick. He only played six seasons in the major league, so it's unusual to have a guy that just played that little.
Yeah, and I remember this player. I guess he played in his rookie year was '94, which is an interesting year to win the Rookie of the Year because that's a strike year.
Right.
So even his stats when he had 24 home runs in 100 games,
right? And
whoa,
he was batting 280, hit 24 homers. You're looking at this guy thinking we might have a really special player here.
Yeah, they didn't,
and they didn't.
Jerome Walton, when he came up for the Cubs, he was really, really good, and I think he did better other places. But he had a Rookie of the Year for the Cubs in 1989 where he hit 293. He stole 24 bases.
That's not exactly the most convincing Rookie of the Year campaign you're quoting there.
Well, I think the high average was pretty good for a rookie at that time, and he played good defense in the outfield. So again, not a guy that ever
a guy with
that.
a 330 on base.
Yeah, well, he did better than that after that, actually, in terms of on base, but never kind of had the year he had as a rookie, but played 10 years in the major league. So again, it keeps coming back that these guys, can sort of sustain, at least being a rookie, you're going to sustain a career.
Well, it's going to buy you some extra play because you won the award, so teams are going to think that they can.
We can get back to that,
right? Whereas, compared to a guy that doesn't have that year under his belt, you're not going to get that sort of leeway.
Right. How about Pat Listash? You ever?
No.
Never heard of this guy. Okay, he played in the 90s. He played 6 years. I think he became a manager at some point. No, maybe not. But his rookie year, because he stole 54 bases, I almost think that's really why.
Right, that's entirely why he got this.
Because he batted 290. Okay, he had a 352 on base. He was an infielder, so you don't expect any power. You didn't get any.
No.
And he had one home run.
But 54 steals is impressive. The problem is he might have had like 54 steals the rest of his career.
I think that's about right. He had a little bit more than that for the rest of his career. His 6-year career, like Bob Hamlin, but never lived up to what everybody thought he was going to be, a perennial, an all-star. He didn't even make the all-star team as a rookie, actually. So
right, you got to make one before you're even considered in that club, I think.
Perennial. Let's see. How about one guy we didn't put on our list and we were talking about before, he could be in the same category so far as Royce Lewis. He won the Rookie of the Year.
And you just kind of don't like talking about a guy like that because it's still so early in his career that he could still figure it out. But you would say he's certainly on the track to end up on this
figuring
list.
it out. This is like 4 or 5 years now, I think. So other names like that are Harry Bird, who played for the A's. Joe Black was a pitcher in the Negro Leagues who had a great rookie year for the Yankees. decades. And he actually was a reliever, which kind of interested me that he won Rookie of the Year, and I think he only made 2 starts that year. And so to win it as being black,
well, but he also
winning it as a rookie,
right? He also had 15 wins that year.
Yeah, as a relief pitcher,
right? So that's going to do a lot for you because they 15 wins in a 2.15 ERA is going to do you a lot of good for winning a Rookie of the Year. He finished 3rd in the MVP vote.
And he came up at like age 28, so like some of the...
Well, because he lost years, it looks like. He lost a bunch of years between 48 and 52. There's just not any data for him. But then he comes over to the National League from the Negro Leagues and has an unbelievable first year with them. And is the kind of guy to think, okay, if he'd only been exposed to that ecosystem earlier, who knows what he would have put together. And he threw 140 innings as a relief pitcher, so he pitched fairly regularly.
And they used him differently. I think it was only like 2 starts that year. So, yeah, he's like a trivia question all the time, Joe Black, in terms of winning the first Rookie of the Year, I think, as somebody who played in the Negro Leagues. Ken Hubbs of the Cubs. I just like this name. I did not know this player, so I just came up with him because he won the Rookie of the Year in 1962. Okay, I don't remember that, obviously.
No.
And he won the Gold Glove in 1962. This guy had a 3-year career, so I'm not exactly sure what happened.
Well, he died.
Yeah, right. I was about to say, I think it might have been tragic.
Right, it was. He unfortunately died in Utah in February before the 1964 season.
And he debuted at 19.
So
he passed away at age 21.
So, he didn't have a great, second year, but I'm sure the Cubs were hopeful for what he was going to be going forward. And it's just a tragic accident in his case that kind of kept him off. So
that's a name, though, that, I guess if you were around then, you probably would remember, that because that's a pretty notable occurrence. Super Joe Charbonneau came up with the then Cleveland Indians. I can call them that as long as I'm referring to them in the past, right? And he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and had I think he hit 23 home runs as a rookie, and truly never did anything else the rest of his career.
Well, he only had 2 more seasons, and he barely played in them.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think there was injuries involved, but I think he had difficulty coping with Major League life.
Some guys just aren't. They don't enjoy it.
Right. One of the 5 in a row Dodger Rookies of the Year, Todd Hollandsworth.
I mean, he put together a 12-year Major League career, but certainly given, hitting 290 in your rookie season, playing, solid fielding, showing some pop with a bat, people kind of thought he was going to be more of a player, but I mean, his Rookie of the Year campaign is, you kind of hope for a little more out of it.
Another one of those, who else was trying to be Rookie of the Year that year?
As an outfielder, I kind of expect more than 12 homers from a guy that played 150 games.
And they looked around going, any rookies out here? I'm a rookie. Okay, you win.
He gets it.
So, and the same thing kind of happened to Eric Hinsky, and he had a 12-year career, and I remember him being around a long time. What I didn't remember is that the Rookie of the Year, which was a very good rookie year, I would say, right? 24 homers, he batted .277, ops plus of 119, 151 games as a rookie.
Right.
That's solid as a rookie. You've contributed and all that kind of stuff. Never came close to that again. Never hit. He only hit 20 home runs one other time in his entire career. But he played 12 years, and like you said before, and I think it's really astute that you get a lot of latitude. If you win the Rookie of the Year, somebody's going to want to take a chance on you, thinking they're going to find the key to unlocking what used to be.
Because you showed it one time.
Right.
And that's going to mean something to teams. You've at least demonstrated, okay, this guy did put together a full season where he had 24 homers and batted .280, basically. Teams are going to be willing to give you another shot because they're going to think, well, if we could get that out of you again, we'll take that at third.
And I think the guys that won the Rookie of the Year last year, Carroll and Gunnar Henderson,
they had much better seasons than a lot of these guys.
And I think we know more about rookies when they come, like how ready they are and their ability to sustain it.
Right. No, I don't know how many of these guys were super heralded prospects the same way
I don't either.
Like Adley Hutchinson and Corbin Carroll were.
Right. So, and this year we've got another Oriole who is at the top of the list of potential Rookie of the Year candidates in the American League, obviously. Jackson Holliday, Matt Holliday's son, so he's got pedigree to boot, and apparently he's looking really good. I didn't realize that Evan Carter of the Rangers, if you really think about it, is a rookie because he was so dynamic
and he was so
year.
good last year. You kind of got to think that he's going to repeat it, though. Sometimes you see with these rookies that have that unbelievable playoff run that they never kind of figure out again. After Jeremy Pena for the Astros was a solid. He had that hitting that he had in that postseason, and then he didn't have that last season. He still played solid defense, but he was much more of a liability offensively than I think Astro fans would have liked.
And other times, there's guys like Andrew Jones, who announced himself in the 1996 World Series and then had what should be a Hall of Fame career. And I think Miguel Cabrera did the same thing, right? Early in his career, showed his stuff in the World Series, and that showed that he is a bona fide Hall of Fame player. The other names, not as well.
Nolan Schanuel is a very good player. He played a little bit for the Angels last year and was flashing a lot of talent. So he might be a guy that could surprise some people this year.
The other Rangers player, Wyatt Langford, and I don't know if he's even going to play. It's like when you see a list, this is off of the Fangraphs Rookie of the Year odds. So these are guys they're
these are heralded prospects, but there's no guarantee they're
even going to play.
Come up and play.
Right, exactly. So Junior Caminero just went to Tampa Bay. And
right now, I will say that with Tampa, you kind of have to think he will play because Tampa seems to just grow these guys in a lab that come out hitting 120 OPS plus and throw into a one whip. So with a guy like that, you got to think there's at least a chance he comes out of the gate hot because he'll play.
The Tigers have a couple of guys. We've heard of Colt Keith, I should say.
Great baseball name.
Great baseball name, isn't it? And Parker Meadows.
So not quite as great a baseball name.
Those guys have and Houston and the Orioles have Houston.
Heston. That's Heston.
Heston. Jestard, I guess.
I have no idea how to pronounce that last name. I'm not going to try.
And they list a Yankee on here. I've never heard of.
I think they're just sort of obligated to, so the Yankee fans don't get.
Well, you got to have a betting line, right? You got to have enough guys in there to bet on. So
and also, if you're the betting line here, you throw a Yankee on there. There'll be Yankee fans that bet for him on the principle that he's a Yankee, so he'll win.
Okay. Do you know off the top of your head Mark Vientos of the Mets? Is he a rookie? I mean, he never.
I don't think it matters because he's not going to win the Rookie of the Year.
He's been around for 5 years.
Yeah, he's not getting it, so I don't think it matters.
So in the National League, they do have some candidates.
I think the problem with the National League is you have to ask yourself, if Kodai Senga's campaign last year wasn't good enough to win Rookie of the Year through a combination of one, they didn't want to give it to him because of his previous stats, and Corbin Carroll actually put together such an unbelievable rookie year.
Meaning that had he had a Bob Hamlin kind of year, he might have won.
Right.
If Carroll,
right. If Carroll wasn't quite as good, Senga might have had a better chance to win. But I think that's going to be Yamamoto's biggest hurdle to winning is not really his own performance. Same with Imamanga. I think Imanaga. You're right. I think both of them have the issue that they need other people. Same with Jung Ho Lee. The foreign players basically need the actual rookies to perform at a lesser standard because they're just going to sort of get bumped down because it's yes, you're technically a rookie, but it's almost kind of insulting to give this to you. If I'm Kodai Senga, wouldn't you be a little annoyed if the major leagues gave you the Rookie of the Year?
No, because 20 years from now, when you look in the book, your name is there winning, and you're like, I'm fine with that.
I'm fine with it, but there is part of you that would be like, I'm not a rookie. Of course I'm going to beat these 20-year-old kids.
Give me whatever award you want.
True.
I'm sure I can't hurt my getting paid if I get an award like that.
I'm surprised Paul Skeens counts as a rookie still.
Well, he didn't even pitch in the major leagues last year. That guy out of LSU, obviously. Right. I don't know how much, again, a guy like that's going to pitch for the Pirates. It's like when you have these young players come up, and I was listening to this just yesterday, you can't expect a rookie pitcher anymore. Dwight Gooden threw 276 innings in his rookie year. That is not happening. So a rookie pitcher throwing 120 innings.
That isn't a foreign-born pitcher. If they're a foreign-born pitcher...
Well, they're pitching in the Japanese league.
That's something that Imanaga and Yamamoto...
Senga pitched 166 innings last year.
They're going to throw way more innings than the average rookie pitcher because they're older and they've already done it before.
But these kids coming out of college and high school who have never pitched that much are unlikely to get not even 120 innings in their first season.
It would be surprising if any of them broke 150.
So one of the thoughts I was listening to something about the Mets. prospect report and saying that some of these young pitchers, because Senga's hurt now, and so would you bring up somebody like a Christian Scott or a Matt Vassell if these are young Met pitchers, and let them get their innings in the first month or two of the season, then shut them down so he helps the team, you don't exhaust his arm, and then you go, hopefully by that time Senga's ready to pitch and you don't need to use him anymore, and he got to help the team and contribute.
I think it really depends on where he is.
I think it's an interesting scenario to think about doing it that way.
I think teams are going to be really reluctant to do it because they'd rather do it at the end of the year as sort of a reward for the guy working hard all season.
Except by that time he's tired already.
But how much is he pitching really in the minor leagues that he'd be that if he's that tired?
Well, then no, that's what happens. Look at Yuri Perez last year. We saw that happen, right? He came out blazing,
right,
and they shut him down.
Well, right, but that's because they were protecting him, and
when they brought him back, he wasn't as good.
Right.
I think he pitched a total between majors and minors of like 120 innings last year. So to me, that's like the top where you've given them everything you can give them, and it doesn't mean it's going to work out. But it was interesting because when he contributed to them early, it meant a lot to the Marlins' chances, and that's one of the reasons why they did as well as they did.
Oh, yeah.
So
I just think that you're not going to see teams bringing up guys to throw like a couple spot starts in April and May.
No, I would say like, you give a guy a regular term for a month. So
I just don't think any of the Mets guys are there yet.
And that's got to do, as you said, with the actual players themselves. But there might be a player or two on every team that you might think, like maybe we're better off using him now.
I got to think that most teams probably look at it as the guy's either major league ready or he's not. So it's hard for me to think that like, oh, he's major league ready, so we'll have him throw like a month in April and then we'll send him down to the minor leagues for the rest of the year. That doesn't make any sense to me. If he's ready to throw in April, he's ready to pitch the year.
And I guess we have to have the understanding that the people that do this for a living, that evaluate
are much
these
better
guys,
at it.
They know it more than we're going to know in terms of if a guy, we see a guy, he looks good, and he gets everybody out in a spring training or something like that. Going, yeah, he only has 2 pitches, and we know that that's not going to last. They're going to find him
guys are going to take spring training differently, so you can't go off of performance and that to try and be a predictor of future success.
The last of the guys is Noelvi Marte of the Reds is a rookie this year. Jordan Lawler of the D-backs, we've heard about him. And the former Met prospect Pete Crow Armstrong. This is the year.
Finally going to put it together.
And Pete, I feel like that happened so long ago with Pete Crow Armstrong when he got.
You're
traded.
not really thinking about it.
He's like 23 or 22.
Right.
It's
been a while,
but he's been around for 4 years. That's because he started when he was 18. So you mentioned Skeens, Michael Busch, who was over from the Cubs. The Dodgers thought they had something with him, and
so the Cubs are a team that's relying on a lot of young talent to power them. The same with like a team like the Giants, who are hoping that Kyle Harrison and Jung Ho Lee can kind of team up to help boost a lineup that was just anemic last year.
Yeah. And the last on the Cubs, it just will be, so they bring in Craig Counsell, they bring in Imanaga, but I kind of feel like they haven't given that team enough to work with. Maybe they are just eventually going to sign Bellinger, and that will make the difference for them. But in a division that's very winnable,
right?
I kind of feel like they kind of took a step to the side and said, maybe.
I feel like they
not.
swung and missed on Yamamoto and Ohtani, and that really hurt their offseason. I think that was
thus they have Imanaga,
right? And that's a consolation prize that you probably don't feel too great about winning.
But if he wins Rookie of the Year,
it'll feel a lot better.